Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some pretty big stuff going on over here when it comes to the PlayStation 6, where we're actually now seeing even more bigger focus dates on dates and times when the actual console itself might come out, and as well even some more kind of even drama when it comes to people trying to actually go and pinpoint the exact PlayStation 6, the potential of the PlayStation 5 Pro being completely gone, and a lot of other various kind of mid-tier things tied on in with that. So we're going to talk about that, talk about the news, talk about the details, and as well, kind of go talk about some good juicy drama, which is always, I think, kind of fun to go and see. Now, I'm one of those folks out there that don't necessarily ever mind talking about speculation or talking about it or details on it, because number one, it's fun talk. Number two, people are kind of curious. And number three, sometimes intriguing stuff does go and happen. But as well, we've also been kind of seeing a big controversy of people obviously throwing in the PS6 or PS5 Pro for clicks, because people are kind of obviously curious. Now, if you guys ever see that on my channel, like I said, a lot of it's on either speculation or as like proper sources, or at least like a source to kind of discuss on the topic. So hope you guys never mind me on that one. But let's go and we'll talk about some news. So make sure you guys all also subscribe with the notifications on for the channel. We're actually going to probably be taking a few days off too as well to kind of rearrange our setup and get some things going, which has not happened for like 3 years. Kind of weird to even say that number in all honesty. And of course, we also have the Twitter and Twitch down below, Target Amazon links, and let's dive in the video. So as you guys know, the PlayStation 6 is still probably at least a decent bit away, but one big thing to note for this is the PlayStation 6 is obviously in like talks, in development, in early stages. But there's actually been one very specific and very peculiar like article slash like legal leak that people have been kind of focusing really hard into. So let's very first go talk about this, where we're now seeing this on legal documentations in regards to the PlayStation 6 official release date, or at least the release window. So in regards to, as you guys know, less information is coming from like these Xbox to Sony legal calls and trying to stop the Activision mergers and all of that, where the duration. Microsoft has offered to continue making Activision's games available on PlayStation only until 2027, which in theory is actually only 3-4 years from now, as a Microsoft paragraph 3.27. Likewise, in public comments just on October 26th, Microsoft said that it plans to offer Call of Duty on PlayStation only as long as that makes sense. It appeared until 2027 or some other possibly shorter time that Microsoft unilaterally determines makes sense. To Microsoft is badly inadequate. By the time Sony Interactive Entertainment launched the next generation of its PlayStation console, which will likely to occur in, as you guys can see, this is all from proper legal docs, like redacted, it would have lost access to Call of Duty and other Activision titles. I also just realized my camera's in like the weirdest spot ever, sorry, over there. So making it extremely vulnerable to consumers switching and subsequent degradation in its competitiveness. Even assuming that Sony Interactive Entertainment had the ability and resources to develop a similarly successful franchise to Call of Duty, it would take many years and billions of dollars to create a challenger to Call of Duty, and the example of EA's Battlefield shows that any such efforts would more than likely be unsuccessful. Now, this has been a very specific and very peculiar quote that we've gone into, because there's quite a bit to unwrap, and obviously people are trying to unwrap it. Number one is on the fact of basically them only offering it to be on PlayStation until 2027. Now, I believe that's in regards to the like earlier deal before that a 10-year deal you guys probably have heard about from Nintendo or Nvidia, or even them trying to offer to Sony. At that point, I think that's before that. But as of right now, that's kind of why even Microsoft's trying to say this big line, and I want to harp on this one too. As long as it makes sense that we will put the consoles on the game on the consoles, that is, well, what they're going to do. And the kind of the next big, even bigger statement too, it kind of wraps all together. By the time Sony launches their next generation of its console, which is likely to be around this, we'll talk about the date in a second, it would have lost access to Call of Duty. So a few things to note. Number one is that 2027 seems like at least like the borderline. So in case you guys are curious on, oh, should I get a PlayStation 5 now? Do I care? I'd say, yeah, it's fine. Like, this console's gonna be going on for a long time. I think the typical like period's usually been around 7 years or so for most consoles, 7 or 8 years or so, give or take. That kind of came out around 2020. So at this point, like, you have time. Like, you're chilling. You're good. Like, this is going to be going around for a while. So if you got one literally today, you're going to be happy. It's not going to be outdated. You're going to be fine. I mean, unless they do a slim in, like, a few weeks, then at that point, not my fault. You just kind of waited a little bit too long. But a big thing to know is that they want to go and potentially stop Call of Duty when the next PlayStation 6 console would would come out. And that is kind of a big deal. So if they want to have Call of Duty not accessible, that means that most folks, a lot of folks play Call of Duty in games like, say, like a FIFA or like an MLB The Show or 2K, if they have the option to just go and have all those same games, but also Call of Duty, like they don't have any tie-ins or have exclusivity for Xbox, then people might be a lot more likely to, number one, either go to PC and like just play games on PC, Windows Game Pass, play it on Steam or whatever it might be, if that contract stays up, or part two, they also just go and fully switch to Xbox, where at that point, that's where PlayStation's kind of worried. Because PlayStation's like, hey, if we can't go and compete really with this Call of Duty stuff, then we have to make a competitor. And they're even saying right now, even using references of EA for Battlefield, which used to be a huge game. It still is. I'm sure the next Battlefield's going to be really hype, and I can't wait to play it. But it just is falling short in competitiveness towards Call of Duty. It just is a big, different game, and I can kind of see why. So I'm with them on that. Like, I understand the idea that it's hard to compete with Call of Duty. It's like a $70 billion company. For mobile markets, that's going to cost a lot of money. For PC markets, going to cost a lot of money. For Call of Duty games, like you cannot just go and make Call of Duty happen over time. And there's also like customer awareness, brand awareness. People like even my mom and my dad would even know about Call of Duty just in passing. There is like overall general brand awareness. And this is why it's kind of hard to go and see and be around, because it's just hard to go and compete with. So this kind of goes back to the PS6, where I think they want to focus on having it at least out for 2027, and I think most people are just assuming, based on the 7 to 8 year cycle, that 2028 would be when the PlayStation 6 gets leaked, because that's when they want to have this crazy deal. So a lot of folks have been probably kind of curious on why Jim Ryan or PlayStation are so adamant against this, and this also would make sense, because right now we're not really in the middle, I would say, as of yet. Like, we're getting closer to the middle of these console life cycles, but it also almost kind of seems like they want to start churning out consoles more often. I think a good example for like the graphics cards. They'll have a new graphics card every year, or like say a phone, typically every year, or even some VR, even sometimes even quicker with new iterations. And in the future, it's kind of how it is for PC, where PC stuff keeps on getting so much more efficient for having these things where optimization is hard. And that might be a thing where they might start making consoles all the time at the same basically console, but imagine like a PS5 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they have like a few separate iterations of them as time kind of goes on. Like, I think that's a big thing to note, because, well, they're going to want to make it over time. They're going to keep making more. And if they have to keep on competing with things like Call of Duty, guess what? Some folks actually would go and say, whatever, I'm just going to go stick on Xbox and go with that. So it kind of seems like these big kind of court documents out now are actually kind of leaking the PlayStation 6 and kind of leaking basically Sony's marketing structure, where they want these games to be around. They want them to work. They want them to exist, which I also, once again, I can respect this. I kind of think that's kind of cool. I like the idea of it. So it looks like the PlayStation 6, at least on 2027, so we still have some time going on, but it kind of goes and dives into some other things we talked about before, where we actually saw a lot of these leaks and rumors that Mark Cherney, we covered this on a separate video too, just kind of rehashing because it fits in the theme, is that Mark Cherney has actually now been leaked as of now to be the guy who is designing the hardware design job for the PlayStation 6, who is the first American to design a PlayStation system with the PS4, and now will be responsible for 3 generations of PlayStation hardware, which I think that's a big thing. Like, you kind of go through all this stuff and we realize that there might actually be no PlayStation 5 Pro. I still think there is going to be one, just maybe given another like 1 or 2 years. Same thing too as well with the PlayStation 5, like that new Slim. That's going to happen probably sooner than later, like just based on technology. But it kind of goes to show that we have people that are currently working on the PlayStation 6, where they're currently working on the actual architecture, where they're currently wanting to make this game. We're actually having proper legal documents. This is from an actual, like I said, from the CMA itself, like regulatory government bodies, coming out and confirming, although redacted, that at least at some point, probably bare minimum, 2027, the PlayStation 6 is going to come out, and as well with everything else in the works and everything else coming in here, makes sense. Now, to kind of give you guys the last one down, though, especially even for, I would even say for YouTubers even like me, is that there has been a lot of people kind of throwing in the PlayStation 6 for clickbait and kind of utilizing like, oh, it's coming super soon or whatever. Like, this is in theory is still a lot of speculation because things are multiple years out and they will still take some time to go and finalize. Like, in my mind, I could probably assume at least 2027 is a baseline for a PS6, and we're still up in the air for the Pro or Slim, although we haven't seen too many leaks. Like, if we're seeing leaks for the PS6, it's weird to see that we're not seeing leaks for a PS5 Pro, if it's gonna be sooner, stuff like that. But it's all speculation. It's all trying to put the puzzle together together. So we may not fully know exactly when, where, what, and how this will all happen as time goes on, but it's just letting you guys know that just be careful. Some news articles have been very consistently pulling out like, oh, we know the exact price and the exact date. Like, no one knows at the end of the day. We're just all speculating, but it's fun to speculate. I like it on my channel. So just letting you guys know a little bit of a warning on that one. Some news articles are getting kind of like, I guess, canceled for that one. Kind of deserved though, because they're kind of making up lies and saying it's for truth. At least I always try my best to say if it's speculation or not. So make sure you guys are subscribed with the notification on if you guys want to. We have the Twitter and Twitch stream down below if you guys want to follow. And of course, check out the Target Amazon links too. And I appreciate y'all so much for watching here in the first place.